Well, hey there, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Or if you're new to the channel, welcome to Larry's House of Hockey. This is the last week of power rankings for this year. Next year, I'm thinking of doing something a little different where instead of doing a full 32 team one, maybe this just things running through my head, just, kind of watching the view counts of at least my power rankings for each week kind of going down. So I'm thinking maybe I'll just start doing, maybe next year I'll start doing just, 16 instead of the full 32. Well, give me your thoughts in the comment section on that. Would you like to see just a 16 or a 32? Just, kind of seeing how how each week they kind of went down that, and apparently on YouTube, only one person can do power rankings. So, I'm kind of thinking of changing that up for next year. But for this is the last week. And I think also next week, what I might do before the playoffs, I might do, at least I'm thinking I'll probably do this. I will do a kind of a playoff power ranking before the playoffs start. Who I think is the favorites, or who I think, in what particular order would be the teams that have the best chance of winning. So I'm thinking of doing that probably next week after the regular season ends and the playoffs start. So I'll probably rank the playoff teams and, see who I think has the best chance. So, but for this week, the last week of the power rankings, let's get started here. Now, number 32, we had some teams that definitely changed spots, and number 32 this week, they lost 4 straight, and I'm not sure if this is the first time they've been number 32. It might be, but it's Columbus. The Blue Jackets are just, they're basically, we'll play for the draft lottery. We'll just wait for the draft lottery and, see where that, see where they land. But they're number 32 this week. Number 31. Now these guys actually move up one spot because Columbus is kind of finishing the season on quite on a bad note, and that's Anaheim. Again, another team that is just they're just waiting for the draft lottery. Can they win the draft lottery? Maybe, but we'll have to wait and see. And it'll be very, very interesting. Okay. Number 30 on the rankings this week. They dropped one spot. And again, they're another team. They're just playing out the string. They've lost 3 in a row. And that's Chicago. The Blackhawks, of course, they're playing for the draft lottery also. All of these teams really in the bottom 4 or 5 are just playing for the draft lottery. And I don't know. Is it possible the Blackhawks get the draft lottery, win the draft lottery again? It's entirely possible. And then we can literally watch everybody online just go, yippee, hooray, right? No? Not so much? Okay. Number 29. Now, these guys actually move up a couple spots. Mainly because some of these teams they had worse weeks, worse runs, and that's San Jose. Now, San Jose, they have locked themselves in to having the best percent chance to win the draft lottery. Whether that happens, I don't know. It's entirely possible, but we'll have to wait and see. And I know the draft lottery, I don't think is going to be that far away. I'll have to look up exactly when that is, but I don't think that's going to be very far off after the season's over. Number 28. Now these guys dropped 2 spots. They're another team. They're kind of playing out the string. They've lost 2 in a row. Seattle. The Kraken are, some people, honestly, they swear that last year was just a complete fluke. That, they had a good year and they just got lucky because this year they fell back to earth. I got to think next year they're going to be better, and we'll have to wait and see. But I think they might be in the mix for the draft lottery also. Number 27. Now these guys actually moved up a spot, and because they're just kind of playing out the string. They've lost their last 2 games in overtime. Well, one overtime loss, 1 shootout. Montreal. So the Canadiens, again, now they're another team, I believe, that is going to be in the hunt for the draft lottery. And I think that could be very interesting to see where they land and, what pick they get. So, we'll have to wait and see about what Montreal can do come draft lottery time. But yeah, they're number 27. Number 26. Now these guys drop a spot. These guys not that long ago were in contention for a playoff spot. And man, did they just fall off a cliff. Calgary. The Flames are, I don't know. I don't know what their odds are of winning the draft lottery, but at least not yet. I'm not exactly sure. I'll probably look into that a little more once the season's over and we get the percentages of what each team is going to be at. But yeah, Calgary they fell and fell hard. Number 25. Now this is another team. These guys dropped 2 spots, and I so thought they were going to be. I thought after last year they were going to be so much better, and they just, just a bad season. New Jersey, the Devils are. They're another one of those teams that's just wait till next year, because they're obviously not going to be in the playoffs, and yeah, we'll have to see what where they end up. Where do they pick come draft time? We'll have to wait and find out. Number 24. Now, these guys moved up 3 spots, and again, these guys are so hot and cold, and I keep wondering, where was this all year? They went 3-1 on the week. And, they've won their last 2. It just, I don't know where it's been, where it's been all year. Ottawa. What in the, what? And you what? What is up with, I don't know. Good week, bad week, good week, bad week, good week, bad. I don't know what to do with Ottawa. They're just very. They're the epitome of hot and cold. They really are, and I think they're going to be in the draft lottery also, and we'll see where they end up. Number 23. And these guys move up a spot, and this is probably going to be the last time that I use this particular magnet or any particular magnet of this team. The soon-to-be Utah, the Arizona Coyotes, the soon-to-be Salt Lake City, Utah, whatevers. They're number 23. They've done. They've been with everything swarming around the Coyotes and the players, the organization, what's going on. Families that are now most likely going to have to try and find somewhere to stay in Utah. They've been a distracted team, and they've all been notified by the general manager that, yes, they're moving to Utah. It could be announced as soon as early this next week. And, possibly, possibly the day after their season is over, the announcement will probably come out that they are officially moving to Salt Lake City, Utah. So that will most likely be the last time that I will be using an Arizona Coyotes magnet, unless it's for, nostalgia or something, or in the next number of years, if they maybe find a way to get another team in Arizona, then I might end up using them again. But yeah, for right now, this is most likely going to be the last time that I'll be using that logo or any form of that logo for a while. Number 22. These guys drop a spot. And again, I'm glad they didn't make the playoffs because we all know what would happen. They would have just died in the first round. And of course, I'm talking about Minnesota. They are notorious for playing just good enough to qualify for the playoffs, and then, hey, they made the playoffs, and you're done. It's a Minnesota tradition, unfortunately, and it's not just the Wild. It's every Minnesota team. Play well enough, make the playoffs, and you're done. So, yeah. What will they do next year? I don't know. They've still got 1 year left in this cap hell that they're in. And, they've got some good young players that have come up. We've seen come up and play the last the last week or so. Wallstead came up. Wallstead came out, got a shutout. So, he's looking better. And, I gotta think next year, if Fleury doesn't come back, it's probably going to be Gustafsson and Wallstead. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that goaltending tandem, especially if Wallstead can live up to anything close to what, a lot of the scouts compared him to. He could be a hell of a goaltender for the Minnesota Wild. Number 21. Now these guys dropped 3 spots, and this again is a team kind of like Ottawa, hot, cold. This is the 13th year in a row that these guys have missed the playoffs. Buffalo. What is it going to take? What is it going to take for the Buffalo Sabres to finally get back into the playoffs? I don't know what it's going to take for them to make it back to the playoffs. I want to see them make the playoffs. I do. It's been 13 years. It's time to see them get back into the playoffs, but I don't know what it's going to take for them to get there. I just, I want to see them get back in the playoffs, but and again, we got to wait another year. It's been 13 years, and it's going to go on another year of them coming up short. Number 20. These guys also dropped 3 spots. They were eliminated from playoff contention the other day, and that is St. Louis. St. Louis, they made a run of it. They really did. They made a run of it. They just couldn't get. They couldn't quite overcome everything. The slow starts. They had a very up and down season. Even though they've won 40 games. They're just they had some moments that they just couldn't quite overcome, and they were officially eliminated from playoff contention a few days ago, and yeah, so they're we'll see what they can do we'll see what they can do throughout the offseason and going into next year. Number 19. Now these guys also dropped 3 spots, even though they've played decent, but again, I think they've some games that they should have won that they didn't, and I think it's going to end up costing them a playoff spot, and that's Pittsburgh. The Penguins were looking like a playoff team, potentially a playoff team. They moved up a good chunk of spots, but then they lost. Then they went in the last game. They lost. Their playoff percentage dropped big time to potentially get a playoff spot. It's not. They're not out of contention yet for that playoff spot. They still could get there. They still could get that number 2 wild card because it's a dogfight for that number 2 wild card. Because you have literally 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4 teams. 4 teams all within 1 point of each other trying to get that number 2 wild card. It's also not out of the realm of possibility for one of these teams, these Metro teams, to get third. Still possible that could happen too. Pittsburgh could get that, could get one of those spots. We'll have to wait and see. There's only a couple of games left. Number 18. Now this team moves up 2 spots, and they're another one of those teams. They are in a big fight to try to get into one of those playoff spots. They had a big win against Toronto, which was a win they desperately needed to stay alive, and that's Detroit. The Red Wings are, again, they're another one of those teams. They're trying to get into the playoffs. They are currently tied for the number 2 wild card spot with Washington. Now, can they get into that spot? They certainly could. It's crazy. I mean, 3 teams are tied at 87 points for the number 2 wild card spot. It's such a tight race. And it is most likely going to be, whoever gets that number 2 wild card spot, you're most likely going to have to play the New York Rangers in the first round. Good luck. But you're still in that fight. You're still fighting for that spot. Number 17. Now these guys had lost. I mean, what did they lose? Like 7, 8 in a row to drop out of a playoff spot. But now again, they've won 2 in a row and they're right back in that race. They are one of the teams tied for the number 2 wild card spot. Philadelphia. So the Flyers, again, the Flyers only have 1 game left. So the odds of them getting that playoff spot are pretty long because Washington, Detroit, and Pittsburgh all have a game in hand on Philadelphia. So Philadelphia, I don't see them getting that playoffs. I don't see them getting that spot. I don't quite see it. And but they made a good run of it. They really did. But they didn't. Losing seven plus in a row. I mean, going on that run where they just dropped, they just completely dropped out of the playoffs, and now they're kind of picking it back up. I think it's going to be a little too late. Number 16. Now these guys move up 3 spots. They are currently sitting in the number 2 wild card position. They went 2-1-1 on the week, and that's Washington. Now, the Capitals are sitting in that wild card spot mainly because now it's interesting because they're sitting in that spot, but yet I don't know, because they don't really have the regulation wins. They only have 30. I mean, they have more regulation wins than Detroit, and they're tied with Philadelphia in regulation wins. But again, Philadelphia, I think it's because not only do they have the tiebreak on Detroit, but they also have that extra game in hand on Philadelphia, which is why I think they're sitting in that playoff spot right now. And right now they're number 16 on the last power rankings. Number 15. Now these guys stay in the exact same spot. They went 2-0-1 on the week. They are currently in third in the Metro Division. I think it's safe to say they probably will make the playoffs unless they find a way to lose their last two and some of these other teams win their last two. But right now, the New York Islanders, they're sitting in third in the Metro, and I think they will be a playoff team. And, it's always interesting. When the Islanders make the playoffs, you never know what you're going to get with them. They could literally come out of nowhere. But yeah, right now they're number 15. Number 14, also staying in the same spot. These guys clinched a playoff spot. They were the last team to clinch in the Western Conference. They're currently sitting in the number 2 wild card spot. It is possible still they could get third in the Pacific Division, and that's the defending champion Knights. So Vegas, of course, they could get that spot. They could. I mean, they've clinched a playoff spot. They're in the playoffs for sure. They're either going to be the number 2 wild card, or they're going to be third. Now, LA is 3 points up on them, but again, Vegas has a game in hand. LA has 2 games left. Vegas has 3. We'll see what happens, but yeah, right now Vegas, I have number 14. Number 13. Now these guys drop a spot, even though they got a big win. They got a big win over Edmonton, which was huge. It created some separation where basically I would think a win in their last 2 games will clinch the Pacific Division, and that's Vancouver. So Vancouver, they had a big lead in the division. And then that lead got dwindled down to 3 points. And with that win that they got over Edmonton, if they don't get that win over Edmonton would have been within 1 point of them. But they won it, so they're back up to a 5-point lead in the division, and I think Vancouver will probably hang on to win the Pacific Division. Then what do they do come playoff time? We'll have to wait and see, obviously. But yeah, Vancouver, number 13. Number 12, moving up a spot. Now these guys, they're firmly in the number 1 wild card. They're only 1 point away from hitting 100 points. And which is an amazing for them. They only have 1 game left. Can they hit 100 points in that last game? We'll have to wait and see. But Nashville, the Predators. Now, they most likely are going to see, they're probably going to see Vancouver in the first round. Now, that will be an interesting matchup. That could be an interesting matchup. And, yeah, your guess is as good as mine who would win that series. If they play each other, could be a lot of fun, though. But Nashville, number 12. Number 11, now dropping 3 spots. Again, a lot of these teams, they're dropping, but it's not because they're playing badly. It's just some of these other teams, they've been playing really well. And yeah, so they dropped 3 spots. They're number 11. And it's still a team I wouldn't want to meet in the playoffs because they're, they only won back-to-back Stanley Cups and went to the Stanley Cup Finals 3 years in a row. Tampa. The Lightning are looking like they are most likely going to play. Let us see here. Who might they play? It's looking like, now, chances are it's going to be Boston. They're probably going to play Boston because Boston is most likely going to win the division because they have one game in hand on Florida. Florida only has one game left, and I think Boston will hang on and win the Atlantic again. And a Boston-Tampa first-round matchup could be interesting. Could be very interesting for sure. Number 10. Now, these guys also, they dropped 3 spots. Again, they're not playing badly. But again, with these guys, it's always, wait till the playoffs. Toronto. The Leafs, of course, they are the epitome of a team that, hey, regular season's good. What are they going to do in the playoffs? That's when it matters. And their first round matchup might be. I don't know if I'd favor them, honestly, in a first round matchup against Florida, because it's looking like that's probably who they're going to play. Excuse me. But they finish in my power rankings on the last week. They finish in the top 10. And yeah, we'll see what they can do come playoff time. Number 9. Now these guys dropped 4 spots. Now they didn't have a bad week, but they're 4-5-1 in the last 10, and they got absolutely destroyed in their last game, 7-0. And it's got a lot of Avalanche fans. It's got a lot of these guys' fans kind of worried. Colorado, number 9. Their goaltending, a lot of their fans are questioning their goaltending. Is their goaltending good enough to hold up in the playoffs? I don't know. They have an amazing team. They have a lot of talent on that team. But their goaltending is, I don't know. I don't know if their goaltending is going to hold up for them. But they're guaranteed that they know their first round opponent. It just depends on who's going to be number 2 and who's going to be number 3 in that division. And, needless to say, their opponent has not appeared on the board yet. Number 8. Now, these guys drop a couple spots. They did lose their last game. But again, they lost to a division leader, and that's Edmonton. Considering where the Oilers were at the start of the season, at the end of October, early part of November, when they started 2-9-1, to get back to even being able to sniff first place in the division is pretty spectacular. And McDavid hasn't been playing the last couple of games, so I don't know. I have to think they're probably going to hold him out for the rest of the season. And hopefully he'll be ready to go come playoff time, but I don't know. But they wrap up the season's power rankings at number 8 on my last week's power rankings. Number 7. Now these guys, they move up 4 spots. They had a pretty decent. They had a decent week. They went 2-1. They've won 2 in a row. And they're trying their darndest to hang on to third place in their division. Los Angeles. The Kings are doing their damnedest to try and hold on to third place in the Pacific and guarantee them for a 3rd year in a row a matchup against the Edmonton Oilers. And can they hold on? It's possible, but again, the team that they're trying to hold off, they're 3 points up. They're 3 points up on Vegas. They have 2 games left. Vegas has 3 games left. So it's entirely possible Vegas could still leapfrog LA to get into that 3rd spot. Will it happen? Well, we'll have to see we'll have to see going into this next week exactly what happens. Number 6. Now this team moved up 3 spots, and they're playing well. They still have an outside chance to win the division. I don't think they're going to get there because they've played one more game. Then they only have one game left, and the team they're chasing has 2 games left, and that's Florida. The Panthers, of course, they're trying to see if they can somehow overtake Boston in the Atlantic Division. I don't think they're going to do it, but Florida's had a great season, and they've won. I believe they've hit 50 wins. Yep, 51 wins. They have won 51 games. It's interesting. They've won 51 games, and yet they're not going to win their division because, Boston has only won 4 games less. But again, what makes up that difference? 15 loser points. 15 loser points in comparison to Florida's 6. So I think that's one of the main reasons why that third column is been a big thing for Boston, and what's I think is going to help them win that division. Number 5. Now these guys move up 5 spots. They're getting hot at the right time. Unfortunately, they got hot kind of at the wrong time because they don't have a chance to win the division, but they do know who they're playing in the first round, and that is Winnipeg. So we know for sure the Jets and the Avalanche are playing in round 1. They're playing in the Central Division semifinal. It's who gets second, who gets third, who gets home ice. Who gets the number 2 seed in the division semifinal, and who gets 3? That's the big difference here. Now Winnipeg. Now some people will say, this doesn't bode well for Colorado because Winnipeg has owned them all year. Yeah, that don't make a difference. That does not make a difference come playoff time. I don't care if you've beaten it. I don't care if you beat a team, 5, 6, 7 straight times in the regular season. Playoffs, completely different beast. And honestly, I don't see Winnipeg as being a favorite. When it comes time to the playoffs, I don't think Winnipeg is going to be favored against Colorado. I'm not going to favor them against Colorado. They're tested. Their talent is insane. Their goaltending, questionable. But can Colorado's talent overcome the goaltending? Oh, yeah. But it's a battle. Who's going to get number 2 and who's going to get number 3? They both have 2 games left. Winnipeg has 2 points is 2 points up on Colorado. We'll see what happens, but yeah. So Winnipeg is number 5 on the last power rankings. Number 4. Now these guys drop a couple of spots. Now even though they haven't played. I mean, they didn't play. I mean, they went 1-1 on the week. They're only 6-4 in the last 10. But again, they're winning more than they're losing. And they're most likely going to win the division, and they're going to possibly end up playing the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Boston Bruins are they're good. They're really good. I don't know because they've never played well against Tampa in the playoffs. Now we're not for sure yet if that's going to be the matchup. It most likely will be, but until all the games are played and we know the end of the standings at the end of the season, then we'll find out. But yeah, Boston, number 4. Number 3. Now these guys dropped 2 spots. They've been number 1 the last I think 3 or 4 weeks, but they only went 2-2 this week. They still most likely are. Now let's see. They're 1 point up for the President's Trophy. And, it's possible they still get there. And that's the New York Rangers. So the Rangers, again, they drop a couple of spots. The Rangers, it's a battle. Them and one other team that's not up here yet is going to win the President's Trophy. I don't know which one, but it's definitely going to be a battle. And of course, the Rangers have played 81 games. The team that's in second has also played 81 games, and they're only 1 point behind the Rangers for that race for the President's Trophy, and that's, of course, the Dallas Stars. Now, everybody talks about Colorado being, the favorite possibly to come out of the Western Conference. I don't know. I think Dallas is going to be, they're going to be very, very hard to beat. I think they're going to be very, very hard to beat. Can they come out of the West? Absolutely. I think they can. Will they? We'll have to wait and see. But as of right now, they're number 2. And, I think they got a great chance. And again, they're only trailing the New York Rangers by 1 point for the race for the President's Trophy. But number 1, the last power rankings for the season, these guys move up 3 spots. They're on a good run. They still also could catch the New York Rangers, even though they're 3 points behind them. They have a game in hand. The Rangers only have 1 game left. These guys have 2 games left, and that is the Carolina Hurricanes. So the Canes, they've won 4 in a row. It's entirely possible they could win those last 2 games and still not win the division. Because the New York Rangers have just played that good. The Rangers can finish with a maximum of 114 points. And Carolina, they can finish with a maximum of 113. So that's how close it is. But yeah, Carolina wraps up the power rankings for the season at number 1. And yeah, like I said, next year I'm thinking of doing it a little differently. Instead of doing a full 32 teams, I might just do a 16 team, maybe even 10, and kind of shorten it up a little bit, and because it seemed like from the view counts, people just kind of got bored of mine, but and of course everybody's saying that I'm just copying somebody, so yeah. Only one person, I guess, on YouTube can do a full 32-team power ranking, so that's why next year I'm just thinking about changing it up. So, but let me know what you guys think. Who do you guys think should be number 1? And yeah, what do you guys think of the last power rankings? And again, next week I will probably do a ranking of the 16 playoff teams and see who I think has the best chance to win the Stanley Cup and who has the worst. So let me know what you guys think. Please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. It would be greatly, greatly appreciated. And if you want to share this video or any other video, go right ahead. And yeah, so last power rankings for the year. Let me know what you guys think. See you guys later.